The Gulf Coast shimmered under a late afternoon sun, the waves gently rocking the Sea Grace, a modest but sturdy research vessel owned by the Coastal Marine Conservation Alliance. For Ellie Torres, a 22-year-old marine biology intern, this was more than just a summer internship. It was the culmination of everything she'd dreamed of since her first trip to the aquarium as a child. Her days were usually filled cataloging barnacle growth, analyzing plankton samples, and logging dolphin sightings. Quiet, methodical work. But that calm shattered with the buzz of the emergency radio. All vessels, be advised, possible marine mammal distress. Coordinates 29.564 north, 94.724 west. Oil contamination suspected. Approach with caution. Captain Nolan turned from the helm, his usual relaxed demeanor gone. That's right near the shipping lane. If it's a dolphin calf and it's coated in oil. We don't have much time. Ellie was already grabbing her dry suit. We need to go. I've trained for this. Let me help. Nolan gave a quick nod. Call Mateo and Trixie. We'll need everyone. Within 20 minutes, the Sea Grace had changed course, slicing through the turquoise waves as the sun sank lower. Ellie's heart raced, not from fear, but purpose. The coordinates were just north of a refinery cluster, an area recently rocked by a small pipeline breach. Noah had downplayed the spill. Ellie had feared they were wrong. As the vessel approached the site, they saw the telltale black sheen on the water, glinting in the sun like a dark bruise on the sea's surface. And then they saw it. A tiny dolphin calf, no longer than 4 feet, thrashed weakly near a rust-colored buoy. Its skin was streaked with crude oil, eyes barely visible beneath the sticky sludge. Worse yet, a shipping freighter was slowly bearing down in the distance, its engines a low growl against the quiet. "Damn it," muttered Trixie, the boat's resident vet tech and animal whisperer. "We've got 20 minutes, Max." "Less if it sinks," said Mateo, who doubled as the vessel's diver and emergency mechanic. "Ellie," Nolan barked, "you lead the extraction. You've logged more dive hours this month than any of us." Ellie's hands shook as she fastened her mask. "I won't let it die." The plan was simple, in theory. Dive, approach gently, sedate if necessary, and guide the dolphin into a floating stretcher designed for marine mammal rescue. But the reality was chaos, low visibility, contaminated water, and a calf that didn't know they were trying to help. Ellie slipped into the water, the cold, oil-slicked sea closing over her head like a veil. Her flashlight barely cut through the murk. She could hear the calf's squeaks, high-pitched, panicked, heartbreaking. She surfaced. "I see him. He's tangled on something, maybe netting or a rope from the buoy." Trixie tossed her a dive knife. "Cut him free, but slow. Let him see your eyes." Back underwater, Ellie floated in slow, measured movements. The calf was stuck, all right, its fluke looped with a nylon cord, a forgotten remnant from some long-abandoned crab pot. Ellie reached out. The dolphin jolted, almost slipping below. She followed, her breath hissing in the regulator, and gently stroked its back. "Easy, little one," she whispered through her mask. "I've got you." She cut the rope. Instantly, the calf bucked. Ellie grabbed the stretcher handles and called for Mateo, who dove in beside her. Together, they guided the calf into the sling, securing the straps and hauling it back to the surface. It took all 4 of them to lift the dolphin onto the deck. Oil dripped off its body like poison. Ellie removed her gloves and knelt beside the calf, placing a hand over its ribcage. "Still breathing, shallow, but we've got a chance." What followed was a frantic blur. warm saline rinses, delicate scrubbing with soft sponges, fluid drips, and constant monitoring. Trixie administered a mild sedative while Mateo adjusted the tank's oxygen valve. The dolphin, a male not more than a few weeks old, was christened Finley. Hours passed. The freighter had long since rumbled by. Night fell, the moon rising over the gulf like a pale sentinel. By morning, Finley stirred, letting out a chirp that startled the exhausted crew. "He's awake," Ellie whispered, brushing a clean patch of skin behind his blowhole. "He's still here." But they couldn't keep him. The Sea Grace had no long-term care tanks. Their only option was the rehab facility in Port Clear, an old naval yard converted into a marine sanctuary. The problem? Port Clear was nearly 30 miles away, and the sea was choppy. "Then we sail slow," said Captain Nolan. "We cradle the calf in the auxiliary pool. We yield a makeshift buffer with water bags and keep a medic with him the whole time." "I'll stay with him," Ellie said without hesitation. They rigged a temporary basin from a cargo container lined with seawater and foam supports. Ellie never left his side, speaking softly, adjusting the saline sprayers, keeping his skin moist and his spirit calm. When they reached Port Clear, a team of volunteers was already waiting. As Finley was transferred into a deeper tank, the head marine biologist, Dr. Yvette Huang, took Ellie aside. "You stabilized him beautifully," she said, eyes scanning Finley's chart. "I read your reports. You showed initiative, leadership." "I just didn't want him to die," Ellie replied. "Sometimes that's the best qualification." The next 3 weeks were a blur of days and nights at the rehab center. Ellie stayed on as part of the special observation team. She learned to read Finley's vocalizations, his feeding patterns, his breath intervals. She charted every milestone: the first solid meal, the first unassisted swim lap, the first vocalization burst that sounded like a laugh. But Finley was growing stronger, and that meant goodbye was coming. The Gulf needed him back. The release was set for dawn. The Sea Grace returned for the final journey. On board were the same team: Nolan, Trixie, Mateo, and a few new volunteers. Ellie stood at the stern beside the floating gate that would lower Finley back into the open sea. As the boat reached open waters, Finley clicked and squeaked from his transport tank, almost as if he knew. The gate opened, salt water rushed in. For a moment, he hesitated. Ellie knelt beside him, her hand lightly touching his fin. "You're ready. Go find your pod. Show them how strong you are." Finley chirped and, with one final glance back, dove into the blue. The crew cheered, and Ellie watched, heart full, as a small dorsal fin broke the surface once, twice, and then was gone. That night, as the Sea Grace anchored under a sky full of stars, Captain Nolan found Ellie sitting on the deck, legs dangling over the edge. "He made it," he said softly. "He did." "You know," Nolan said after a pause, "we'll need someone to lead the next field rescue rotation. It's not glamorous. Long days, murky dives, oil, entanglements." Ellie smiled. "I'm in." As the waves lapped against the hull and a distant dolphin whistle echoed across the water, Ellie Torres looked out over the dark sea, her harbor of hope, and knew she was exactly where she belonged.